Easter, the greatest story ever told. And what makes it so amazing and so great is that the Easter story is a true story. Jesus really did live. Jesus really did die. Jesus really rose from the tomb. And Jesus really does offer us eternal life if we trust in him. But maybe Easter is one of those really familiar stories for you. One of those stories which you know really well, but sometimes forget to think about. So how about this year, we stop and think about Easter in a slightly different way? How about we think about what Easter would have been like in the shoes of some of the people who were there that first Easter? How about this year you join me at Easter as we look at Easter through their shoes? It's not hard to imagine the religious leaders, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the priests, high-fiving and cheering, maybe even holding a celebratory dinner on that first Good Friday. You see, these religious leaders were the ones that were meant to lead God's people in the ways of God. But somehow, somewhere, they got caught up in their own power and their own importance. And then Jesus comes onto the scene. And he challenges that. He challenges them. He challenges their power and their importance. And they don't like it. In fact, these religious leaders did actually understand what Jesus was going on about. When Jesus was talking and saying that he was God, most of the crowds, even Jesus' friends, didn't quite get it. But the religious leaders, they understood exactly what Jesus was saying. And that's why they, well, most of them, wanted Jesus dead. They were jealous. They didn't want to lose their power and their importance. Their pride was more important to them than following God. And so they looked for the right time to get rid of Jesus. And then when one of Jesus' friends, Judas, came to them, they knew this was the time. And when they questioned Jesus at their trial, and Jesus claimed to be God, they understood exactly what he was saying, and they'd had enough. Jesus couldn't stand. Jesus had to be got rid of for their power and their importance to stay. And so they convinced the Roman official Pilate that Jesus had to die. And you can imagine them celebrating on that Friday night and that Saturday that Jesus was dead, that their status quo was kept, that they still had their power and their importance. But then on that Sunday morning, the guards who had been guarding the tomb of Jesus came to them with some news they didn't want to hear. The body was gone. An angel had appeared. Like, this just meant Jesus was alive, but no. Their pride, their self-importance, their self-interest overtook the good news of Jesus. So they created a lie. They told everybody that Jesus hadn't risen, but in fact, his disciples had come and stolen the body. This Easter, as we stop and think about Easter through the shoes of the religious leaders, I want us to think, how does our self-importance, our pride, get in the way of the good news of Jesus? It's really easy for us to look down our noses at those religious leaders and say, you missed the greatest thing that ever happened. But the reality is, sometimes we're just like them as well. Sometimes our pride, our self-interests blinds us to what Jesus is really doing. This Easter, may we submit all our pride, all our self-interest to God and live Jesus' way.